Hello, Alex here, and today we're going to reflect on the anniversary of me developing my first roll of film on my own, and I'm going to share a few tips and tricks that I've picked up over the last year or so. Let's get right into it. When shooting pretty much any analog medium except instant film, I guess, be that a cyanotype, like a wet plate or tin type, or just regular camera film, you have to develop the film as the final step after shooting. And what this does is in short and in general, it will make the film light safe and stabilize that image permanently to the base. Unlike the C41 and E6 processes for negative film and positive film or transparencies, respectively, black and white film development is far from a standardized process. There are literally thousands, if not tens of thousands, of combinations of developer concentration, development time, agitation method, agitation frequency, temperature. There are so many different factors that go into black and white film development that it's all over the place by comparison. But ironically, it's a lot easier to do at home because it's so forgiving. In contrast to like C41 development, where you have to be within a 0.3 degrees Celsius range above or below your target, which is usually 38 degrees Celsius, otherwise it goes to shit. In black and white, you can kind of do whatever you want. Within reason. I mean, like plus or minus 3 or 4 degrees, that's probably fine. It's not going to be the end of the world. So yeah, on this day, the 7th of April, at the time that you're watching this, it is the anniversary of my first roll of film that I developed at home. It was a roll of Lomography's Berlin 400. I shot it on my Nikon F3 with the AIS 50mm f1.2 prime lens. It was in the middle of the first lockdown here in Ireland, so I wasn't able to leave the house at all, really. So all of the pictures were taken around my garden, and they're not the most inspired. You know, they're fine. But it was, regardless of what your pictures are of, developing is still an important process, and it was good for me to get into that and try it out. And I was terrified that I was not just nervous, but so nervous that would make me screw it up. But thankfully that wasn't the case. I developed this film in Ilford's Ilfotec DDX developer at the recommended 1+4 dilution at roughly 20 degrees Celsius, and I don't know how long it was for, but I know it was for about 10-ish minutes, 8 to 12 thereabouts. I didn't write that down, I just remember that. And then I used Ilford Rapid Fixer just to stabilize and fix the image when I was done. I took some pictures on the day on my phone, and I was very excited, and I was really delighted that it came out. I was more worried that I was going to screw it up in a practical sense, like exposing the film to light rather than a more chemical issue, which would be embarrassing to say the least. But it worked out okay in the end. The negatives are a little thin, I would say, based on my experience in the last year, but like not drastically so. Maybe they're half a stop underdeveloped. It's fine. It's fine. So before we go any further, I'm going to show you a little slideshow of the few usable images from that roll. And when I say usable, I don't mean that like the development was ruined or the exposure was ruined, but I have a very small garden and there's not a lot you can take pictures of. But I got a few nice pictures that I like, especially the last one. I think that was probably the best of the roll, and to be honest, I still do like that picture. I'd like to try it again with my pen pan, I'm tentatively calling it. We'll see about that down the line. So now I'm going to share with you 3 tips that I've picked up over the last year. Tips that people have given me and that I've found by reading online. Number 1, you can in fact agitate your film too much. When you look at a film development recipe, it'll usually say something like, invert the tank continuously for 30 seconds and then do 10 seconds every 60 seconds after that. That's pretty normal. Don't do it continuously, that will actually ruin the film. Your over-agitation will cause all sorts of streaks. It won't just be developed too much, but it will cause all sorts of artifacting, especially around the sprocket holes. I think that's called bromide drag. I'm not sure if that's the same thing as what I'm talking about, but it ruins your negatives, so don't do that. 2, and this is a positive one. Temperature does not matter as much as you think. Apart from that very first roll, I have never, ever actually measured the temperature of my developer. It's probably like 15 degrees here right now, like whatever. I actually have some film in stand development downstairs, and like, I don't care, it's fine. It's black and white development. It doesn't actually matter that much. So don't stress about it quite as much as you probably are. 3. This is one that I sort of figured out the hard way, and I mean, it makes sense when you think about stand development and how that works. If you have a developer with multiple working dilutions, you know, maybe you have a dilution A and a dilution B. I think one of the Kodak developers works like that. Or with Ilfotec DDX, it's 1+4 or 1+9, so 20% or 10% solutions. If you use the weaker solution, that is the more dilute solution with less developer in it, you will have a longer development time. That's fine. That actually makes it easier to kind of wing your development if you don't really know what you're doing. Like, 1 minute makes a lot less difference on a 20-minute development than an 8-minute development. But using the more dilute developer gives you more contrast and grain, which might not be what you're looking for. So depending on the final look that you're actually going for, and especially what film you're shooting, consider whether it's going to be worth the extra 25 cents or so it's going to be to use DDX 1+4 instead of 1+9. And I worked it out, it's about 26 cents for what I pay for a bottle. Is it worth saving that money? Probably not when shooting a low ISO film. Now, in fairness, I rarely shoot low ISO black and white film, but maybe you do. Maybe I will shoot more in the future, and it's good to know that. I think that's something that not enough people talk about. I think it does definitely make some kind of a difference. And if you're shooting something, 400 speed or above, yeah, do whatever. But if you're shooting like Ilford Pan F50 or T-Max 100, then maybe consider using the little bit, stronger developer and just taking it easy and not worry about, the extra few cents that it's going to cost, because you'll get a much nicer, cleaner image out the end. If you want contrast, you can add that back in later, but you can't take it away, and you certainly can't take away the grain. So thank you for joining me in this video where we just did a little reflection. Not very scripted. The script down there is like a page long, including headings and stuff. It's nothing compared to what I normally do. This date kind of snuck up on me. I was looking through old pictures at the weekend and realized, oh crap, I should probably, do a little thing for that. So yeah, thanks for joining me. We have the first in the My First Roll series coming out on Friday. I've already delayed it a few days to get this video out. It's done, but I just pushed it back a little bit. So you'll get a full proper video on Friday. Take care. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.